Good evening, all. My name is Dustin, also known as Rope Aficionado, and this is the Dominance Dialogues. And tonight we have Nicholas Tanek, and our topic of conversation is how kink saved my life. Nick, you mind introducing yourself and a little bit about your experience, please?
Hello, my name is Nicholas Tanek, and I'm an author and a podcaster. I like to think I'm an activist in a way as well. I'm a kink advocate. I don't know. I just love life, and I love kink, and I love expression and creativity, and that's what I'm all about. Kink saved my life. And what's going on, Dustin? How you been?
I've been well. I've been well. You're trying to be a little too serious there for a second. I was like, wait a second.
That's why I brought it up, because I can't, because you know me. This is a celebration of life, right?
Yeah.
A celebration of creativity in life. So yeah, I have to be upbeat. You know what I mean? Right on.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about your experience.
Okay, I've been kinky my whole life, right? And I always hit it. I kind of didn't. I was a punk rock kid, so I talked about it, but I didn't live it. And my real fantasies, so to speak, I couldn't live. I am a very imaginative person. I live in my mind. I'm like a superstar in my own private movie, so to speak. You know what I mean? And I always had this yearning for more, something else, and something imaginative. In the suburbs, and I didn't, as a younger person going through life, obviously you don't appreciate what you have, so you're always searching for more, and that could be books, records, and it was books, records, and movies, but it was also kink. It's also kink and sex. So searching just for that, I got involved with the punk rock scene, the hip hop scene in New York. So I was like promoting shows and stuff like that. Love getting people together, and this was all as a teenager. The rave scene really got me involved. The drugs helped. Doing lots of ecstasy with a bunch of people, that changes your outlook on things. Yeah, and I kind of fell in love with people and just getting people together. And at this whole time, I had kink just kind of in me. You know what I mean? So I met this woman named Lynn, and we were very foolish, very naive, we were lovers, I was very much like open relationships, and I'm a teenager, didn't know anything. And we're going to New York City and Philly every weekend, And we were writers. And we'd write and write and write. I would get published, and she wouldn't. She would say, "No one's ever going to write anything for me." So I broke her heart. I was in love with someone else before I even met her. And then 15 years later, after we both got married, we both lost ourselves in drugs, we got back together. And I like to say we put the bond in bondage. I also like to say true love is not having to clear your browser history. So we would exchange porn. We exchange porn all the time. And I'm a switch, and she is a switch too. And I have a love for femdom. I also have a love for like the whole sissification force femme narrative. It's fantasy for me. I don't live it, but I like it. That's what I like. Just like, you like rope. I love rope too, but still, I like other things. So that's one of the things, and that's a difficult fetish and kink just to kind of come out to somebody with, especially if you're doing relatively well, just being who you are, not having to role play or wanting or being able to. I think role play is a luxury personally, but still. So she was in and out of the hospital. She had ovarian cancer, but she stole hospital restraints. And then one day she comes, she's better, she's feeling good. Comes in with a corset, black corset, garter belts, stockings with panties in one hand, and hospital restraints in the other. And one thing that leads to the next, and I'm on the floor. I'm on the bottom, and the bottom of the couch. My hands are restrained to the bottom of the couch with the hospital restraints. And she takes my pants off, takes my boxers off, puts the black panties on me, and then straddles me and says, "I own you now." And that inspired a whole thing of just being switches. So sometimes she would lock me in chastity, put me in, I'd have to clean the house in a French maid outfit. But yet that same night, she would go out to find women for me to have sex with in front of her. So Lynn was in the corner, and I had to, and this was all her idea. It was all her thing. I had to cuckold Lynn. I had to say, this woman's so much fucking sexier than you. This woman's so much prettier. She's a better lover. Look at her tits. Her tits are so much better. And then she like have the other woman, Misha, would have me come on Lynn's face, and we'd have to laugh at her as she'd masturbate in the corner. You know, so that like changed my world. That was like not the normal missionary style sex that I was used to. No, I'm kidding. I was always a kinky freak. But that like really opened my, like having a relationship like that really inspired me to realize that, oh, you can have a relationship. You can have a connection with somebody. The porn, your browser history, the porn, you can make that reality. Even, you know, have an understanding that a lot of it is fantasy. You could still, some people made it. They literally made that stuff. So that means you can make it. What's in your mind, you can make it romantically, you know? So that's what's awesome about Kink. She passed away. She had ovarian cancer. We were both dealing with addiction. We've done, you know, when we found each other, we were recovering addicts, basically. Heroin and cocaine was a major part of our teenage years, you know, and we overcame that. And I think kink, sexual expression, and that connection saved us. It made, because once we started doing it, right? Once we started getting really kinky, our imagination ran wild. Like Fight Club, you know, everything else, the volume was turned down a notch. You know what I mean? We started looking at the world differently. Started like walking and be like, oh, the clouds are so much fluffier. The sky is such a beautiful shade of blue. You know what I mean? Even if there was a storm. Matrix. Yeah. And even if there was like a storm, you could be like, look, the sun's coming through the cloud. Like kink, we didn't think about drugs or drinking that much as much. You know what I mean? And it really saved our lives in a way. I got off heroin. I got off methadone. You know what I mean? Looking back, I wrote this book. You know, I will get to the book, but I'm surprised I'm not dead. Straight up. So she passed away, unfortunately. I was devastated. It was during Hurricane Sandy, right? Remember Hurricane Sandy, Dustin? You were in the Midwest. I'm in. All right. So I'm in New Jersey. Right. Hurricane Sandy hit, and this was obviously before COVID, and it was. I felt like I was in this post-apocalyptic world, this dystopian future. Mm-hmm. All like the trees were down. The wires were down, like the weather, it was just surreal going to get gas at like 3 a.m, you know, like, and my world was over. After she died, I felt like my world was over. I was dealing with people. Grief is a unique kind of loneliness. You know what I mean? And it's, so stuck. I had to move out because I couldn't afford rent only with me at the time. And I was devastated. So I moved into my parents' basement, and it was during Hurricane Sandy for one summer. So we didn't have electricity because Hurricane Sandy knocked out all the electricity. So for like a couple of weeks, we didn't have electricity. So I'm helping my parents. I'm cleaning up everything, but we had a generator. So I plugged my computer in, and I wrote a book. So for that woman who's like, oh, you're published, and everything you write is for other people, for other women. No one's ever going to write a poem for me. No one's ever going to write anything for me. Well, I wrote a book. I wrote a book for the girl who thought that no one would ever write for. It's called The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself. Now, no one kills themselves in the book. It's a metaphor. It's a saying that she would say. But we're going to do something a little dangerous, a little cool. Hey, that's the coolest way to kill yourself. It means loving yourself and loving someone else. And, you know, I was suicidal, basically. I was dealing with drugs and this weird kind of loneliness, even though I had all these people. Depression, a lot of it's chemical, I'm sure, you know, but it is what it is. And how do I deal with it? I could have gone into drugs. I could have gone into crime. I could have done something horrible with anything to, like, you know, I could have started. I could have done, you know, what I chose to do is to honor her and to write a book in tribute to her. So it's her story. It's her life story from when we met in teenagers. Everything is about her. So it's my story. I narrate it. And I narrate it from me writing it in my parents' basement. So that's how it frames it. And then the whole story is like me telling her story. You know, so that happened and I put that out, which was wonderful. I never had a response to any of my work. I've done some things, but what was interesting about this is that everyone was behind it, in the sense that the foreword was written by Melissa Blair and Ariana Stooney, people I've known and loved for many, many years. They're artistic, they're muses themselves. One of them passed away recently. Ariana's still out there. And we put it all together. The cover is all like put together, and everything about it was organic. We didn't do it for money at all. We did it, you know, as a tribute to her, and also as a beautiful artistic statement. And it resonated with some people. It's an underground thing. I mean, it's a book called The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself. So it's not going to be, you know, in every shelf on your supermarket when you know, when you go to that little book section, that little crappy book section that sells whatever. You know, so and that's fine, because we were underground people. We lived an underground lifestyle, and we understood and we saw the kink community and how beautiful it was. And that's what leads me to the next book. So after The Coolest Way, what do you do when someone dies? What do you do when your queen dies? You start a new kingdom? Do you find a new kingdom? What I did is I wrote about how I was inspired to write The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself. And that's what the book Your Kinky Friends is about. It's that summer, that from when she died to me writing the first page, to getting that inspiration. And if it wasn't for that, it gave me purpose. You know what I mean? It gave me it made me feel like, oh, I have something reason. I could tell a story. I could tell her story. I think her story needs to be told, because she would have been forgotten. She totally would have been forgotten. No one else is going to tell the story. Tell her story. She's a wild story. Her life is filled with hard drugs, kinky sex. I add a lot of music references in throughout the story because I'm a freak like that. But yeah, I'm talking prostitution, violence, abuse, you know, physical, emotional, marital abuse, to the point of prostitution and pimping out and shit like that. It's a dark, dark story, but it had to be told, you know? And the book, Your Kinky Friends, is about how to deal with that grief. So it's me and two other friends that I have who are all dealing with grief at the same time. We just happen to be together at the same time. We happen to be in the middle of the kink community. And that scene in that community helped us. It's more of a character piece, as a plot-driven piece, as opposed to The Coolest Way. But I hope it makes a statement about that we're all together in this kink community. You know, we're here for a reason. We're different for a reason, whatever our fetish or weird fetish is, or whatever our beautiful fetish is, you know. We're here, but we're all different. We feel a little different. That makes us the same. You know what I mean? And that's why we were talking about before. I think it's very important, especially during these political times, that the kink community has to stick together and has to support each other. do podcasts, support each other, tell each other who's doing what. Don't talk bad about each other. We need support now more than ever. Your kinky friends love you and will support you. Support each other. Kink helps kink. So that I started doing interviews to promote the book, Your Kinky Friends, because it's not a typical erotic or fiction, right? It's a true story, and it's realistic. So, I knew it was going to be an odd sell. It's not, because it's not just like a muscle guy on a cover with just abs, for erotic novel or some shit. Like, it's something different. It's something real. So I had to push it. So I wanted to interview people. My favorite podcast is The Best Show with Tom Sharpling. And it's from a radio show. I like Mark Maron is a very, a good one too. What WTF? But Tom Sharpling, The Best Show. What it is it's 3 hours, and he talks for a while. He brings some bands over. He does whatever. You don't know what's going to happen, but there is kind of a loose structure. There's fake calls. There's people who come in who are like callers, like there's regular callers, and then there are people who come in as characters, and you don't know what's real or not. John Worster. But the interviews, I learned so much about other stuff, about music, about film through that. And so I was thinking, why can't I do something like that with kink? No one's, so I started interviewing people, and now my imagination, my world, I'm living in a fantasy right now. I think that I have this huge network, and I kind of do, but it's also, I want so much more. Just from back to square one. I want to create this fantasy and make it real. Now, I think finally we have people, and that's why I'm always trying to, do live shows, live events, and just trying to get people together. And Kink saved my life because of that. And if it wasn't for Kink, I wouldn't have written 3 books. And then on top of that, it wouldn't have gotten through the liver transplant that I had. So after I wrote the 3 books, I had a liver transplant. And Kink, in many ways, helped me get through that, which leads me to writing my new book, which I'm writing right now, called The Coolest Way to Save My Life, which is, it's like my swan song. I'm going to cap everything up in the most beautiful way. And it's a very positive book. It's about how Kink helped get me through and help get other people through life, but also how science did too, as well.
So I want to kind of circle back, right? So we kind of already touched on like a lot of what your inspiration was for your first book, but I want to kind of, where was the separation between, you said like early in life, one of the challenges was drug use and underground kind of scene, and Kink kind of helped you get away from that. How did that help that separation?
Oh, attention and time. When you're a drug addict, right? If you love cocaine or you love heroin or even alcohol is a little easier because it's like literally everywhere, and it's, but it takes time and attention to score, right? You need to know people, you have to set safety, you have to need money, especially specifically, stuff like that. That's all time and attention to score. If your time and attention is on love, and in my case, I love kink. I felt so, I guess, empty inside and alone inside. That's maybe I was doing drugs that much, so many drugs that much. But finding someone to really, finding the key to my lock, let's put it that way. That's where chastity comes in. Finding the key to my lock. In Lynn, that really opened up my world. And I came to just like dating and stuff like that. I never had a problem, which I was very fortunate to have. But I never felt that honesty, like a true honesty. Like I said, true love is not having to clear your browser history. If you could tell your partner truly anything, it's freeing. It really is. So we spent all our time making each other come. And when I say that, I don't mean just orgasms. I mean like just, you know what I mean, right? Like just, I love I like Sunshine's downstairs. I think she's listening to this now. I love turning her on. I love it. And that's like that fuel, that high that you get from that. And that comes through dominance and submission as well. There's a high you get from serving someone. Just like there's a high you get to be when you dominate someone. You know, and that's natural. So I have to literally focus my attention on that more and more and more. I had to handle addiction, which means therapy. It means, for me, methadone, help with that's long and it took forever. Be prepared for it to take a long time. But it's also the mindset. It's the mindset. It's the kinky mindset. We're kinky people look at things differently. You know what I mean? We do. We kink things. So you gotta kink your life to kind of make it manageable. And kink has helped me. I've written more, right? I've been more focused because I've been locked in chastity and chained to a desk writing this book. Every time my writing sessions consisted of femdom sessions of writing. Like, so kink it inspires. So it inspires change. Yeah. And that's so as long as you want to change. I never thought I would sober up, like completely sober up. Whereas marijuana, I'm all for marijuana. I'm for cannabis, 100%. And but still, it's healing. I got the card. I have a medical marijuana card. But yeah, heroin and cocaine are bad things. Straight up, like you can't. It leads to jail or death. Like eventually, like even if it's moderation, or you just it's a path it's going to lead to. So I had tons of fun, but I find it more fulfilling. I really genuinely do. I find it the kink lifestyle, the comfort of knowing that I can be kinky. With Sunshine, I can go to the manor. There's people. There's the comfort that I have kinky friends. That gets me through. It got me through the liver transplant, and it got me even through the liver transplant. I turned down the lauded and morphine sometimes because I knew, because my kinky friends, I saw them what that did to them, abuse of opiates, and it did not only them but me, right? And so the education of just being around kinky people, different people. I interview everybody for Your Kinky Friends, my podcast, Your Kinky Friends. I interview everybody, because I want to learn from them. I'll argue with them if I have to. I want to keep the show positive. So I only bring people on that I think can be positive in some way. I try to see the beauty in them. You know what I mean? That's my thing. That's my thing. So yeah, it's attention. It's time and attention. There's the physical aspect of drugs, but that's what doctors, you have to work the system. There is that. But kink helped. Kink,
So I got a really tough question for you.
Okay.
And you can opt out if you want.
Sure.
Did you replace one addiction for another? Meaning, did you replace?
I addicted to everything. Oh yeah, I'll totally own up to that. 100% own up. Here's the wild thing: I was always addicted to kink. It just wasn't as accessible. When I was growing up, you had to like find porn in the woods, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had cable TV, but like anything that was remotely kinky, you had to really search and look it up. That's the thing about being old, right? Before the internet, you had to like really look for. You had to read. You had to read. I had to read Pauline Riage's Story of O, Venus in Furs by Massac, the Marquis de Sade, 120 Days of Sodom. So I had to read. That was the only way I could do it. Now you could just Google. You could see anything. And on top of that, what's interesting is that now you could like really befriend the people that you see and that are doing these fetishes. Whereas, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago, it wasn't as easy. So anyone out there right now, take advantage. The greatest joy is now. Live in the now. Support your local sex worker. So yeah, I did addict. Yeah, I'm very addicted to it, obviously. But it's a healthy addiction, and it's just like it doesn't get in the way. Like it doesn't get in the way of really anything. It's a part of me. It's became a part of my personality, and it's
So
helped me
let's
get
suss
through
out
life.
this healthy addiction, right?
Yeah.
What do you do to make sure that it is a healthy addiction?
Know that I'm an addict. Awareness. You know, of course, it's like, how many times have you? I could talk about kink forever. How many times you're on the phone, you're talking to somebody, and you're like, "Wow, I'm so glad that someone else there is also wants to talk about this." Next thing you know, it's an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours later. It's all about time. You just got to be aware of time and how precious time is. Like when you're on a scene with somebody, you may never be with them again. You may never have that moment again. So, as I think being aware is the most. Being aware of time, not just my time, but your time and our time. You know, just awareness of that grounds me. That grounds me. I don't want to. I could spend tons of time just looking at 3 words on Twitter or TikTok or whatever, or just Google sissy, chastity, femdom. Fascinating me. Absolutely fascinating me. I love the narratives, the stories, the creativity, all involved of it. How they try to pull it off but fail sometimes that's amazing. And when they do pull it off, it's beautiful. You know, shout out to Nikki Graziano and Daddy Delilah. Yeah, you know, stuff like that. I could look at that, and next thing you know, it's like hours later. But I also multitask, so I'm trying to I always prioritize to make sure what is most important. So if I have to go to the bank, if I have to change a tire, if I have to clean the house, if I have to go see a lawyer or see my parents or anyone in my family, or of course that comes first. Food comes first, you know. But I'm just kinky in general, and all my friends are kinky. So it's just always around. I don't have to seek it out anymore. And I place myself in that situation because so much time was spent on this addiction to kink, so to speak, because you couldn't get it. Now it's available. Now it's readily available. And everybody I talk to is kinky, so I'm not I don't have the frenzy as much anymore. I try to keep it though, because I try to keep the frenzy in me, you know, I keep the fire in me. But I'm growing older and I have more experience. So I'm grounded. That's at least the approach I try to take.
So it sounds like a lot of it, how it manifested was in the past was like frenzy-ish behavior, in your words, right? And
100%.
Now it sounds like you have a more moderate daily dose of kink, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't impact the rest of your personal and your professional life, even though a lot of your personal professional life surrounds kink.
You know what? I just thought of this. I really did. Just thought of this when I was in the hospital, right? So before I had the transplant, right before I had transplant, 6 months to a year, I was afraid, deathly afraid to even try to get an erection, right? So I wasn't really doing scenes because I was sick, but I was online. I was talking to people. I was constantly on the phone, you know, trying to keep this Your Kinky Friends thing alive, right? And it's funny, so I'm in the hospital, even after the transplant, I got tubes coming out of me. Literally coming out, 3 drains coming out of my stomach. It's disgusting. I look like Gollum of Lord of the Rings. My hair's all messed up. Still yellow from the Oh man, it was a mess. You know, what was kept me alive? Seriously, I'm looking at Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff, and once I see stuff like Daddy Delilah, Starla, my friend Nico Noir, Nico Noir, you know, who's extremely close to me now. Check out Sunday sessions, YKF Sunday sessions, every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, that was like one of those machines. Porn, kink, not porn, kink was like one of those machines you see in the hospital. I go, doot, 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 doot. And like as long as it was on, it's like okay, the machine's on. All right, it's still out there. And that's like once I started like feeling something down there again, I'm like, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm getting erections again. I'm getting. It's like the monitor going off. So, you know, you could say you're a kink addict. But you know what? I'm alive. That's what I mean. I'm kink alive.
Well, it seems like there's a few things that it seems like you've gotten from it. One is like a support network, it sounds like. And then also motivation potentially and something to look forward to and to strive for and to share, right?
I'm so annoyed. I'm sorry, everybody, but it's just the way you wouldn't know about it if I didn't tell you. Not that I'm annoying, but I love turning people on to things, movies, books, songs, food. Oh, you got to try this. Oh, you got to try it. Dustin, you got to read this book. It's pretty awesome. It's so good. Oh, you know what you would like? Oh, I want to get Maria Beatty on here, the Black Glove. I don't know if any people know this. Maria, get at me. That's great, great stuff. Yeah, I love turning people on to stuff. So what I do, and that's what Your Kinky Friends is all about. It's me. It's bringing people that I think are cool, and I want the world to know, right? And then that's why I ask them, like, what's inspiring you these days? And I ask them, I always ask them recommendations, like recommend a film, recommend a book, recommend a thing, because I love turning on somebody to something that they never seen or heard before. Confusing them sometimes. Like, what is this? Oh my God, this is amazing. That makes me feel good. Makes me feel great. And at being in that hospital bed, that kink, thinking about kink in the fetish community and stuff like that, the dominance and submission. I love to serve my queen. I do. I am proud of it. I'm in the supermarket and I'll say, like, even Joker, not talking about, I'll help. I'll just help someone online and I'll think to myself, yes, I love being polite. I'll open a door for somebody, seriously, just because I love doing, I've been getting a really good feeling just from being a good person, because there aren't enough good people out there. And when I see someone does a good thing for me, I'm like, I remember them and I romanticize the whole thing, not in a sexual sense, but it's like, wow, that was beautiful. There are good people in the world. You know, when I see stories of like, you know, people helping like old people or young, you know, just helping people. And that's when I think we need more stories of kinky people helping other kinky people. So what I want to do with my show, the YKF, Your Kinky Friends podcast, I want to just help people out. I find great joy now. I feel like I'm serving the community. Serious. I feel like because I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of the community. I want to serve. That's why I don't ask for, like, my show. It is what it is. There's no air horn. there's no edits or anything like that. I mean, every once in a while I'll edit some out, but you know, it's always been like that. And I love it that way because it is what it is. And they promote themselves. So anybody I bring on, they're there to promote something. Like, you know, you come on to promote your skills and your show and everything like that. By the way, everybody out there, that your man here, on the rope show, the YKF rope show. When was the last time, right? When was the last time you saw someone in Ohio, in New Jersey, and Texas, and San Diego, all being suspended on the same live stream? Where did you see that? I did that. Yes, Nicholas Tanek did that, and so did Rope Aficionado and Nico Noir and Briska. Shout out to Mischief Manor. That was amazing. Check that out. What a marvelous experience. That was so cool. I'm proud of that. And look, that's what it's all about, getting people together.
Yeah.
I love this. So I want to serve my community. And I think if you're kinky, especially, and this is a note to all you sissies out there. If you're a sissy out there, your job is to serve this community. So that's do best, serve, help, promote this show. Yes, promote each other, promote my show. Help each other talk, say, wasn't that a good show? Tell me, try to be positive, try to be good. And that's how people get elected.
Well, I think I don't know. This is around, I think I'm on episode 30 now.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot in that time. I mean, a lot about audio engineering. That was tough.
Yeah. It's a crash course.
Yeah. But ultimately, like, the more so the diversity of the people inside of the community and how much creativity and passion is out there.
I love it so much. And what's awesome about it, what's awesome about it is that the average kinky person I know, I'd say pretty much if you're kinky, you're not racist, you're not transphobic, you're not sexist, you're a misogynist or anything like that. Like, the average kinky person I know is very progressive in their way of thinking, or open-minded. That's why the end of my show is be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. You know what I mean? I mean that. And so I'm sure there's difference in political opinions of people in the kink community and everything like that. But generally, we're all here. We're all here to really get along and to try to find some kind of connection and solace in each other. To find out that we're not alone, that we don't feel so alone in our weird fetishes. You know what I mean? That are safe, sane, and consensual fetishes, but still.
I definitely agree with the statement that a lot of the people in the kinky community are progressive, but there's something that I've been kind of saying a lot, and that's everybody deserves space, but not every space is for everybody.
That's I agree with that too.
Right. And I mean, while kink, we have some core values potentially. Some of us have some core ethics or core kinks, or there are some commonalities, but at the end of the day, there are a lot more differences, in my opinion. Right? Kink is.
Yeah. If you think about it, kink, it's different. Everyone is different. Everyone is like an infinite whirlpool of difference, of quirkiness.
Well, I think it's one of the few places where we see such a diverse group of humans expressing such a diverse group of desires, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at, like, say, all right, RC trucks. I like RC trucks. Like, the demography of people that are into RC trucks is pretty small. It's usually male, it's usually middle age or children, right? Like that's the two people that are. Yeah, I got RC trucks.
You got RC trucks, okay.
Right. Nonetheless,
how much does like an RC truck go for? Like a good one?
I don't know who's listening, so I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about that. No, it depends. I mean, depends on the truck. You'll have between $200 and $1,000 or more.
RC trucks kinky.
Well, I remember I attended this rope class with Neuromancer probably circa 2017, and he was educating with this person named Clown, and they set up a toy train. It was in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
But they set up a toy train, and he tied her to the tracks, right?
Mhm.
You know, model tracks are about 4 inches wide, and then he tied a vibrator to the train and repeatedly ran it into her, and it was kind of comical.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
he taught me that anything can be kinky with creativity and consent.
Okay, what about a little bit of splashing? All right. You could put a tray of tres leches, right? Behind it, like attached to the truck, right? Right. And you have a sub
We're getting
on
way
their
off topic.
on their hands and knees, and they have to crawl and get the tres leches, right? But you have the remote control car, and you do it all around the room, and they have to be either
See, no,
dressed or something.
I've kept it simple in the past. Like I got rock crawling trucks, and I just have somebody lay down so I can crawl over them. And then there's a
Oh
video
wow,
somewhere.
that's cool.
There's a video somewhere of me. There's other ones that I call my spicy trucks, but they'll do like backflips and stuff. But where I hit
Spicy
a girl's,
trucks.
I hit a girl's vagina and do a backflip off of her vagina.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. I wonder, those sex toys with the little, it's like a wheel, but they're like little lit for the clit. And it goes like,
Oh
they
yeah.
look like little tongues. Like, what
Yeah.
if you could, if you could use that somehow with an RC truck?
See, I'm way ahead of you. All right, so if we're gonna
You
geek
could do
out
a
on some
why don't
tech
you do
stuff,
this?
wait, no,
Yeah.
wait, listen. So 4 or 5 years ago, I made what I called the Slutmaster 3000. Okay, and
Yeah.
partly is because I'm a diabolical engineer, and partly because I didn't want to pay for a fuck toy. They're a good
Yeah.
a
Right.
good sex machine is expensive, right?
If you can make your own, like your own.
Yeah, so I had a buddy with a machine shop. We machined some aluminum. I took a 24-volt treadmill motor.
Wow.
So put a variable speed control on it, and it has about 0 to 11,000 strokes a minute, right?
Whoa.
So the next iteration, version 2, is I want to put Xbox Connect because it has a 3D mapping camera in it. And I want to put attach it to a Raspberry Pi, so I'll have a little fuck robot that will essentially follow a hole, right?
Oh wow, nice.
But first, I got this really painstaking task. I have to build a database of holes for my artificial intelligence to track, right? So it can easily identify a hole. But yeah. So screw the RC trucks. I'm gonna go full fucking robot, iRobot, Will Smith type of shit or whatever.
I think you should come on my show. We could do a whole show about RC trucks, about like fun RC truck stuff, getting RC trucks kinky. I bet, and we'll get other people because it'll be a little people won't know what to hit them. They'll be like, "What is this?"
Well, I think what the show overarching should be is that fetishizing fun. I was actually slightly disappointed.
Yeah.
Once again, back in like 2018, I made the fun fetish on FetLife. What? Did nobody fetishize fun before 2018 or whenever it was?
You're damn right. I'm such a believer in being whimsical. Fucking great. Seriously, be whimsical. Be whimsical. How do you think the kink community happened? I mean, yes, of course, there are many people who are very detailed, stuff like that. But it all stems from a whimsical idea, an idea that is whimsical. Seriously, be whimsical, be fun, be delightful. Luna Dark. Oh, Luna Dark. Oh, the delightful one. Yes, he always says, be delightful, be whimsical, be fun. Fun is fun.
And I think that
when's the last time you had fun, people?
This goes back right into the whole topic of how kink can save your life. Is like, while a lot of people take kink so seriously, I fell victim to that. But I've had so much fun inside of kink. Like you're saying, be whimsical.
When I first met you, dude. When I first met you, I was like, I thought you were a roper, right? A lot of the like riggers and ropers, I would always joke around. And one of my jokes, one of my things, every time I had like some hardcore rigger on my show, some rope person who loves rope, I'm like, why are rope people so serious? Why? and,
Well,
and shout out to Briska. Oh my God, Lady Briska. She is this woman is putting the fun. She did our show, remember, from
yeah,
Mr. Banner.
yeah.
She's putting the fun back in rope. What I have a delightful time every time I see her. I mean, oh my God, last time we
Well, then,
all had
hey,
dinner together.
okay, so we need to collaborate because there's a lot of things need to be brought back in rope, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it publicly, right?
Right.
Sex
Right.
needs to be brought back into rope. We need to bring back sex into sexuality because this bubblegum BDSM culture that we live in that is stripping sex and fun from what we do, it's ridiculous. And I know sex isn't for everybody's rope experience, but at the end of the day, come on, there's a lot of sexual energy behind it. There's a lot of sexual motivation behind it, whether you want to consciously admit it or not, that's on you. But a lot of our motivators when it comes to kink is sexual centric. Does that have to mean traditional sex? No, not necessarily. But all right, off my soapbox.
Well, let me respond to that. I've been in dungeons. I've seen people tied up. I've been tied up. Beautiful, beautiful things, right? Beautiful workmanship, suspensions, just breasts, just the looks on their face, the helplessness. They give themselves over. You're in a sex dungeon with tons of other people. Do you honestly think that you don't think? I would wonder what it would be like if I slid my thick, hard, throbbing cock inside her. That thought is okay to have. That's a wonderful thought. It's a beautiful thought. It's sex. Acting on it is a whole different thing, of course. You know, I mean, especially if it's not, don't do anything unconsensual. It's disgusting. But like, I mean, it's beauty. Like you see a painting, and you see beautiful. You fantasize about it. You think sex comes to mind. Not sex with the painting, but it may be a setting. It may be a setting. It maybe remind you of something. It probably reminds you something sexual. Sex is in everything. So yes, every time I see rope, a woman tied up in rope, or me tied up in rope, I would love it. If I'm tied, next time I'm just a hint. Next time I'm tied up, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sex, penetration, and I mean, if it's safe, sane, and consensual, and it's done in a very safe way. I want to say that safe. Make sure no one gets hurt. You know what you're doing. Yes, fuck. Did you ever get fucked when you're tied up? It's great. Did you ever fuck someone when they're tied up? It's better. It's great. No, I mean, they're both great. I love both the same, honestly. I said that for comedic purposes. But yes,
it's interesting.
Think about it right now. Let's take a moment. Seriously. Let's take a moment of being tied up and getting fucked. You can't do anything about it. You can't. You're tied up and you're just getting fucked, and you're still getting fucked over and over and over again. What's going on? I mean, that is a wonderful fucking feeling. Of course, being rope and fucking, oh, hell yeah. It should be intertwined.
Well, I mean, rope inherently has a lot of authoritative characteristics with it, surrender, helplessness, that it naturally provokes and encourages. But I want to go back because I got to suss it out a little bit, but I think that you helped me with an aha moment that I didn't even know I necessarily wanted or needed.
Yeah, this episode is filled with them.
But for a long time, I've talked about how like I'm the Bob Ross of the rope world. And like I'll tie somebody and I don't know what I'm doing, but then it's like, oh, there's a bird. And it's like, oh, wait, here, their leg is going to go this way. And oh, now their head's going to go this way and whatever, right? And it's just, it somehow works out to be this beautiful painting, right?
Yeah,
And
you're an
then
artist.
you connected it that it's like suspension is very sexual for me, but not traditional sex. I very rarely have sex in suspension for many reasons, partly because I'm not really in that headspace. And here's why. Here's
I get
why.
that.
And I haven't figured it out because I'm very much objectifying that person. And oh my God, I fucking love objectification. Like if I talk about it for 3.5 more seconds, I'm gonna half a chub. Okay, so we better stop. Going back, I can't get into that space because I'm making this art. I'm making this painting, and it's like you said, I'm not sexualizing the actual painting. I don't want to have sex with the painting, even though it is promoting sexual thoughts. So
Yes.
after the suspension, with consent, all the filthy, vile fucking shit, yeah, because the suspension and all of that, it's like a lot of it is that really intimate foreplay, that slow pace of, you know, each of my brushstrokes, watching them breathe, watching them struggle for me, watching them suffer, watching them surrender, watching them melt, right?
Mhm.
I can sexualize that, but it's like you said, it's like I don't want to have sex with the painting, so to say. And in that moment, that's not a human, that's a canvas, that's an object. So I got some stuff to
Yes.
here, but I appreciate you like helping connect some of those thoughts, and I'd be interested to see how they work out.
I I totally no, I see that because there are times I'm at the manor. I'm at Mischief Manor. Shout out to Mr. Shari, Catnip, where I'm sitting at one end of the place in the lower lower dungeon, and I'm just looking out, and I see, and it looks like a painting. And what's interesting that you're like when you tie someone up or you suspend somebody, it's like you're a painter painting on
Mm.
a canvas. The canvas is your sub, and the brush is the rope, so to speak. Right. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, and the whole piece looks like it's out of the whole scene looks like it's out of a Stanley Kubrick movie or a Wes Anderson movie. It's like perfectly framed, and all these things going on. If I wish, I don't have consent, because it's private. We don't take pictures. I wish we could take a picture of it because it would look awesome. Um, and here's the thing: is that every little scene is like a painting. Every person in
Mm.
the scene is like a painter, painting their own little masterpiece. And that is the beauty of kink. That just kind of everybody come together for creativity and their expression, and they feel better. They're doing it for a reason. Even if they don't come there, they have this kind of orgasm. They kind of, yeah, right. They kind of have this orgasm, and they're emotionally, so to speak. They're there for, or at least to search for something, to search for some kind of connection. And that's a very enlightening experience that we all search for. And it's very much like heroin or coke or.
I think that some of it is most of us are a little quirky, weird, awkward, different, or whatever, or at
Yeah.
least we think we are, until we hit the kink community. And they're like, holy shit, there's other people that like rope as much as I do. Holy shit, there's other people that like sissification or femdom. Holy shit, there's other people that like puppy play. I thought I was alone.
Yeah.
And I
Shout
know
out to
for
all
me,
the pups out there. I went to a pup party at the Mischief Manor a couple weeks back. Shout out to all the pups. Awesome. Great. Seriously, the loyalty. Just wonderful. Just shout out to the pups. Wanted to say
I
that.
interviewed Pup Spaz just a few weeks ago, and he's a wonderful soul. And like you said, there is a strong sense of community inside of the pup community. And actually, I want to bring them back on and potentially help differentiate between the pup community and the pet play community. But we're like way off track, and as much as I appreciate that, I do kind of want to get a little bit back on track.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of this is, at the end of the day, all of this has been, in my opinion, valuable conversation, and that's the goal of this podcast, is to have valuable conversation. But with the focus on, you know, kink saving your life, we've kind of hit on it for most of my first half of my, you know, questions that I proposed for you. You know, like what inspired you to write your book? You know, how you first became part of the kink community, some of the challenges you faced, so on and so forth. And we've dove all around that. But what I think that it makes sense to bring us back is, in what advice would you give to someone that's new to BDSM, that's looking to find healthy and positive experiences, especially if they're struggling with mental health or substance abuse issues?
At the core of everything is what I say at the end of every show: be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. If you have that as a core, like as that attitude, that feeling, like just be cool, be kind. When I say cool, I don't mean like looking cool, image or whatever like that, or like go to, like, my parents are cool, right? They went to like hipster art galleries and shows in New York City and stuff like that. But no, they're cool because they accept me and they love me. They're cool because they're you know, they're smart, they're intelligent people who actually love me, you know, and who want to see good in the world. That's cool. You know what I mean? So be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. If you have that as a core, that's how you approach things. Life gets easier. Like, you know, it's a kinky life gets. You just be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind at the core of things. So, of course, that means if you're going to be cool, kind, and also if you're an open mind, that means you're going to have to be social. You're going to have to be out there. Be honest. Be upfront. If, you know, seriously, good people attract good people. Real recognizes real. You know what I mean? So if you're out there, if you're honest about yourself, they can't take that away from you, right? So be honest, be kind. Because that means be respectful. Don't go into a dungeon wasted. Yeah. Don't go be disrespectful. Don't be a snob. Don't think, oh, you've been to a bigger dungeon? So what? You're not at a bigger dungeon now. Oh, you have all these friends, these kinky friends? Well, who are you talking with right now? Are they your friend? You're my friend. I talk to you all the time. You know what I mean? So it's like, live in the now. That's a major aspect of it. So in being social, do research, be grounded in reality, but enjoy the fantasy, right? Seriously, enjoy the fantasy. I love sissification and femdom and chastity and all that stuff. I was locked for a little while, a couple days, and, you know, luckily I was released. I had a wonderful time. It's hard to find a key holder. There are a lot of people out there who, like, it's not the same if you're locking yourself up for no one reason. You have to be out there. You have to put yourself out there. So that means be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. So if you see somebody, read. So if you see a profile on FedLife, first of all, go to FedLife. There's Collar Space. There's other things. There's, like, I think there's, I don't know. But there's other things. But the ones I had most success with is FedLife, basically. It's the biggest one. Let there be other stuff. Please go out and make a new platform. Let's have some fun. That's the beauty of the kink community. Anyway, but yeah, go to FetLife, make a detailed profile. Not too detailed, but detailed enough that you have a personality. Know who you are, first of all. Even if you don't know who you are, that's your identity then. I am new. I have no idea what I'm doing. But you know, see what you get. I don't know. No, but say what you want, what you like, what you're interested in. And then if you contact somebody just because they're kinky, they may not be into what you're into, and don't put your kink onto them. Perfect example. Like, I don't want to mention any names, but there's someone on the show who I've become friends with, who before I knew them, you know, I was lost in the fantasy. Seriously, I was lost in the fantasy. Now I know them. I love them even more. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But it you know, it happens. So you have to be grounded in reality at the same time. So put yourself out there. Be honest. Don't put copy pasta. For people who don't know what copy pasta is, it's just a cut and paste of the same thing. You're like, you know, no. If you're a sub, if you're a male, right, and you're contacting a dominatrix, first of all, use the preferred greeting that they want to be greeted as. Is it mistress? Is it goddess? Is it domina? Is it Ms. Mix? Whatever. Duchess? I like Duchess. That is a good one. Shout out to Duchess C-Bombs, Duchess Cherry. Conversations with Crossdressers, great podcast. Yeah, and just be honest, be cool, be kind, keep an open mind. Find a munch. Find a munch near you. There's got to be somewhere, even if it's like a half hour, an hour away. It's worth it. Get out there. Here's the thing. Do something. Do something. Life is short. We're not promised tomorrow. You could be sitting here listening and watching me, or you could be serving a queen, or you could be tying someone up, or you could be tying up. Do something. Do something. Go out, a munch, a dungeon, a party. Make a friend. Make a friend. Seriously, just, you know, and kink helps kink. Please, I'm putting it out there. Let's not be snobby. Let's not be. I'll talk to anybody. Seriously, I've had a bunch. I'll talk to anybody. I love being there. I love the conversation. A touch of mischief matter. I'm always there, just hanging out. People come to me. I love just being there, just being in the mix. And that's what kinky people do. Kinky people being out there, just being there is a statement of who you are. And everybody there is making that same statement, right? That means people come to you sometimes. I've met in this book, Your Kinky Friends, right? And even The Coolest Way, I write about going to one of my first lunches ever. And it's like a montage almost of just like the wild things that you see, that just going, the things you hear, right? The things you hear. There's like one person's talking about, you know, looking at porn at work and getting fired. And then just like in the next second, you just turn your head and someone's talking about how they love BBC and they have a sissy and chastity locked right now. And then you turn your head again and then someone's barking like a dog. You know, it's like, and it's all happening in like the course of like maybe 2 or 3 seconds, right? It's wonderful. They're putting themselves out there by just being there. So if you put yourself out there, then you'll find a connection with somebody. But it all goes back to being cool, being kind, and keep an open mind. And the final part, keep an open mind. There are kinks that you do not like. You're going to find kinks that you do not like, kinks you don't agree with, kinks that will put you off. Like I said before, I love the sissy force femdom narrative. It's a narrative. It's a fantasy narrative. I understand that. I totally understand that. And I live it sometimes, straight up. I'm living a fantasy that most people have. And I'm thankful for that. But I know what it is. You know what I mean? And that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't, or at least I didn't try to be cool, if I tried to be kind, and if I didn't keep an open mind. And those fetishes, right? So because of that, I learned from other fetishes. The puppy play fetish. I was never my thing. It was never my thing, but I love the camaraderie. I get it. Yeah, I get it. I get it on how the loyalty, how they guard you, how they're attentive. You know, it's like how they want. Like seriously, it's deep. I get it. I understand it. I understand. So being open minded into other kinks that you do not even understand, I find that beautiful. The journey of trying to understand it is awesome. It's like science. You know, did you ever meet a good science teacher? A really good science teacher who just loved, like, wow, we're alive. Everything's alive and we're nature. Let's find everything out. Like a good science teacher. That's why not view kink like that? You like an engineer, you know, like how did this work? Right? And that's what it's like. Let's people do it with people. How does this work? Have that kind of the kind of I don't want to say naive curiosity, but that joyous curiosity in a way. Be kind, be cool, be kind, keep an open mind. So munches, dungeons, get out there, talk to people, but don't push, don't be thirsty, don't expect, don't force your kink on anybody. I made that mistake. I mean, I
think like
got caught up in the kink frenzy.
one of the biggest things that you really hit on is that, you know, when you reach out to somebody, put effort into it, be genuine, right? From my perspective, a lot of times directness goes pretty far. I mean, it's like the old saying, a closed mouth doesn't get fed or spit in, right? In my world. You know?
That's good, yeah.
Well, and the reason I said that is because there was a big conversation with someone yesterday, and it was like, you know, you don't know what you don't know, and until you ask, until you say, until you express those desires, until you show some vulnerability, you don't know where you reside with someone. And like, that's where like you find those commonalities and that safe space, right? And I think that's where the boost in mental health happens.
I am glad that you said that, because that's what the coolest way to kill yourself is about. I killed my old self off. My real name's not Nicholas Tanek. I killed myself off, and I used my old personality, and I wanted to start over. So I wrote a book about everything that I did, and I wanted to start like my life over, and that's what it's about. And it was my way of being upfront, of saying everything. Yes, I used to do drugs. Yes, I used to sell drugs. I was, I'm I have an addictive personality, and I'll straight up, I'll own my own. I know, look, I'm balding, my teeth are fucked up. I'm a talkative edgelord in many ways. I know all this shit. I own up to it. I'm conscious of it. What have you done? Right? Like, who are you? So I think by being honest and being upfront is most important, and knowing, and because I also think in the kink community, for people who want to get beat, sometimes you're gonna need a thick skin, right? So I mean, I don't know. There's that. Now I'm going off on tangents. I'm sorry.
So, like, circling back to your book, what impact did writing your memoir have on your own healing process?
It validated me as a person. The artist Momus, Nick Curie, has a lot of songs about the longing to become, being stuck in the rut of just loving music and loving kink and loving film and comedy and being taken down by drugs, being stuck in addiction. There's nothing else but imagination, right? So, where was I? What was I saying at that moment?
You were talking about being stuck in your imagination.
Yeah, stuck in imagine. I was stuck in my imagination, and yeah. So I wanted the longing to become. Yes, the longing to become. So I became Nicholas Tanek. In other words, I could be myself. I let it all out. I said anybody. I wasn't hiding. I didn't have to hide anything. I'd have to shame. Being kinky and shame go hand in hand, and it's a lot of it's how you deal with it, right? How long did it take? Like, were you rope aficionado, right? When you were young, were you like tying up your GI Joes, tying up pillows? And I used to tie up everything. Seriously, I love tying up things. I tied up my teddy bear,
Yeah.
straight up,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So but I wanted to know who I was. So I had this longing to become. So by becoming Nicholas Tanek and actually writing and having a book, and what most artists do, if you notice, a lot of artists, some of their greatest work is about other people, is like tributes to other people in many ways. You know what I mean? One of my favorite songs is called I See Water by Psychic TV, and it's a tribute to Ian Curtis. And he's talking about water and the importance of he's using water as a metaphor for the creativity. I think the creativity and just it's really deep. But Ian Curtis, who was an artist who killed himself, lead singer of Joy Division. In art does that. So when you put something, when you put someone in rope and you suspend them, someone sees that, they're immediately transformed and transfixed on that. They're transformed inside and transfixed on that image, and that changes them. So I needed to become somebody, and I'm an author. I love to write, and that means I wanted to document. And I knew from someone who loved kink, right? Someone who loved kink couldn't get it. There wasn't the internet. The internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So it was harder and harder to find. It's harder to erase. and the most thing was, it was like forced feminization of femdom, cross-dressing porn, stuff like that. You know what I mean? But there's shame. It all stems from shame. And it's harmless. It's a harmless fetish, but it all stems from shame. Seriously. So that I don't want to blow my brains out, which I almost did. And a lot of it wasn't just because of that, but it was drug addiction and all that stuff. But kink helped me. Seriously, the hope that you know what, I could live a fantasy in a safe, sane, and consensual manner, legal manner, right? I could still have fun. And there are people out there who understand me. That's beautiful. So, and I couldn't do that until I became myself. And I had to become Nicholas Tanek, so to speak. You know what I mean? So that means like you have to become a character in this great story of kink. So become a character on FetLife. Have a character. Be a character and have character. Like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction. Right? Yeah. Just because you have character doesn't mean you are. Just because you are a character doesn't mean you have character. But it starts with being a character. Be interesting. Have something to say. Are you a gooner? That's what you do. You just goon. You just goon out. You're just looking at like, ooh, look at his face. Look at this. Yeah, I wish this was. Like, are you just gooning, or are you gonna do something? Do something. What a podcast. Art. Make art. Paint. Write poetry. I'm starting a YKF poetry project. Get in touch with me. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Do something. So yeah, what inspired me, it made me become a person, really, an identity. And I think that's what kink community does for a lot of people. That's why people go by names, chosen names. A lot of people, you're a rope aficionado. Why? Because you're the aficionado of rope.
if you want to church it up, I can give the backstory, and it's not near
sure
that cool.
I'm sure that, but still, it's like you gave yourself that name. You know
Yeah.
who you are. You
Yeah.
know who you are. A lot of people don't, and that's beautiful. If you, I mean, yeah, it's not beautiful that they don't. It kind of is, but they'll find themselves. You know what I mean? And that's what we're here for. It's beautiful that they could find themselves here in a podcast like this in the kink community. I truly believe that. I really do. You know what I mean? So you could be yourself by being someone else, and that's what I did.
I think that's what a lot of kink is for people, is self-discovery, self-exploration. You know, someone once told me, you don't know what you like until you tried it twice, because the first time you're too nervous to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And even these days, sometimes I do, even these days, there are times where I'm like, I'm tied up, I'm suspended, or I'm hanging from the sex swing. And I'm like, sometimes I'm locked in chastity, right? And I'm being flogged by Sunshine, a beautiful woman. She's in garter belts and stockings, and everyone's watching. And I have to literally stop in my mind. I have to be like, look around me. Look what's happening. And that's beautiful. That's when you really take a time. You got to take a moment to do that. Please, I urge everyone to do that. If you have the honor to be in a dungeon, to ever be in a dungeon, just truly take a time to look around and say to yourself, look around us. Look around me. Look at this. Like, take a time to do that. The greatest joy is now.
No, that's funny that you say that. Probably one of my main motivators to go out to public spaces anymore is to people watch. I love seeing people and them living their life and how that representation happens, right? And I don't know, whenever I think about that, I go back to, there's this guy at Home Depot, and I don't even know if he works there anymore, but I made up this great story about his life, and it's probably not true. But at the time, I was a very busy contractor. I was very stressed out. And whenever I would go to Home Depot, I'd always see this guy pushing carts, and he was just very happy, or at least I perceived that, right? And then one day I walked by him, and I seen him for a couple of years, just always very happy, pushing carts, mindless work. And maybe I was envious of it. But I ended up hearing,
dude, I have a friend.
Hold on a second. I ended up hearing he was listening to Joe Rogan, and that spurred a lot of thoughts on where, like, I built some idea that maybe he once had a job like me and worked a lot of chaos, and he got tired of it, and he chose happiness over success. And that, because of that person, I helped redefine what success looked like to me, because it's not always finance. It's not always about making money.
It's not. And one thing, I have a friend. I got lost in the chaos too. I fell for it. I fell for it hard. I fell for it. It was bad. I should have gotten to television production. I really should have. But everyone was telling me it's impossible. I wanted to write movies. I wanted to start a movie studio. And this was my imagination as a kid. I wrote scripts. I wrote 80-page long screenplays when I was in 8th grade. They're horrible, but they're adorable at the same time. They're horrible. They're adorable. Yeah. And the teen sex comedies, and I was a teen. I love teen. I was a teenager. I wanted to be the next John Hughes. Anyway, but where was I?
It's all right. So let's circle back.
And I think saying is inspiration. It's all about inspiration, and that's what we need. We need podcasts. Yeah. We need art. We need writers. So I like people. Come on, and people like us to get people together. Get these artists together. The kink community is filled with creativity. And that's why I love that you're doing stuff like this, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So I think the last main question that I have for you is what resources do you recommend to people that are navigating difficult times of their life?
Well, there's always someone to talk to. Always. You're not alone. You're not alone. Suicide hotline is something, there's always someone to talk to. So don't give up. I think about suicide all the time. I do. I wrote a book called The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself. I put a gun, there's a chapter in there where it's a true book. Put a gun to my head. A lot of it was, I didn't know if I should put the gun under my chin, or should I put it in my mouth? Should I put it in my temple? What about right in the middle? I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't give up. It's easy to give up. And the thing is, if I look back on that, if I wouldn't be talking to you now, obviously, if I pulled the trigger. I wouldn't have written a book. I wouldn't have written 3 books. I wouldn't have started a podcast. I wouldn't have talked to people from around the world. I wouldn't have lived out the fantasies that I thought of, that I felt so alone, that where I thought were killing me. So listen to this podcast. There is hope. Life goes on. It does. And unfortunately, it's going to go on with or without you. Be a part of it. Be a part of it. So talk to somebody. There's a suicide hotline. If you're ever, I'm here. Give me a call. Seriously, if you feel bad, but go to somebody. But then there's resources. School. Education is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Credited doctors, and not one doctor works. Not one medication works. Patience. I know we do not have time, but we don't have a choice. If we're mentally struggling, I'm mentally struggling. We're all mentally struggling. We're in it together. The kink community helps. You know why? Because I don't want to say, my therapist, I got kind of like a tizzy, not a tizzy, but I was kind of like annoyed. They're like, oh, the scene, it's filled with broken people. I'm like, what? We're not all broken. We're not broken, we're kinked. Right? So it's a little different. We got to struggle. This is a struggle. Life's not easy. Right? We can make it hard, we can make it easy. We're kinky to make us feel good. And also to survive, to help us get us through the day. It feels good being kinky. To know someone out there that understands you. We understand you. I understand you. I feel walk with confidence because you're kinky and there's a whole culture. There's a community out there who gets you as weird as you are and as struggling as you are. So I do, but also you have to go with someone you trust. If they're good influences. That's another thing. Know if they're good influences. There are catfishes. There are some sex workers out there. Keep in mind, they're sex workers. So yes, go to the kink community. The kink community is a heaven, but you have to be smart, of course. A lot of this is about money. The motivations behind money. So there's that. Go to yourkinkyfriends.com. There's some kind of person, there's some kind of ailment, some kind of anxiety, some kind of disorder. I've interviewed them. I've interviewed someone talking about it, someone who has it. The stories. I've been doing this for years. Oh my God, it's been something like that. When Your Kinky Friends came out, 2016. 18, something like that. Yeah, and I've been doing it ever since. We're out there. There's help out there. Don't give up. Seek help. No wrong with seeking help. Seek help, please. I need help. I need tons of help. Let's start a network. Seriously, I'll reach out to me. Let's make this, something that's ours. And it's where it all stems from. Kink helps kink. So if you're struggling out there, you have to, like you said, an open mouth or a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right?
Or spitting. Or spitting. Don't forget about spitting. All right, yeah.
Yeah, closed mouth can spit it. So if you need help, you ask for it. Ask for it. No, you got to communicate. You have to show your presence, and that all starts from having an identity, being a real person, knowing who you are, becoming yourself, the longing to become. That's what I'd say.
I think it's always worth bringing up whenever we talk about like mental health or professionals. There is CAP. It's Kink Aware Professionals. I'll go ahead and post the link inside of the chat. But as Nick has stated, that you're not alone.
No.
Mental health is a active pursuit.
And it's sexy. Trust me, it's beautifully kinky. Mental health is great. Look at porn. The doctor, the therapist role. It's like it's pure right there in fantasy. You really think I've been to sex addicts, like anonymous. I've been to sex therapy with a sex addict, and I'm thinking about, oh my God, I just want to go down on her. You know what I mean? I read all about it. Your Kinky Friends. It's a very funny chapter, but still, seek help. Yeah. Mental health is sexy. It's health. First of all, it's healthy. Being healthy is sexy, right? Yeah. It is. It's kinky. It's sexy, and also, mental health. It's something to talk about too. Everyone's got mental health issues. You connect people, seriously, like celebrate it, and with a wonderful scientific curiosity and analytical scientific, because we're all in it together. We're all trying to be well. So, your doctor, what's your doctor doing? You know what I mean? Some people don't want to talk about it and be open. That's fine, but why not? I think the kink community.
I think the last question is, what do you got coming? Where can we find you?
Oh, I am working on so many things. First of all, there's yourkinkyfriends.com. YOUR, kinkyfriends.com. I'm on Spotify, YKF, Your Kinky Friends. If you just type in YKF, you find me, Spotify. Please subscribe. I put stuff on there that you can't find anywhere else. There's Patreon, obviously, YKF Patreon. We're gonna get stuff up there. We should talk offline about how to make my Patreon, decent at least. Because I have footage. I have tons of stuff. Yes, there's that, and I have books. I have 3 books. There's The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself. This is a memoir. It was published in 2013 after Hurricane Sandy. I lost the love of my life, and I wrote a book in her honor, and it's filled with kinky sex and hard drugs and an endless amount of music references. And then after, the story continues, but it's a standalone book. It's a completely standalone book, but you could read them, and you could read them back to back, because they are connected very much, 100%. Some of the same characters. I'm narrating it. The book, Your Kinky Friends. And it's my true story about how I dealt the summer where I had to deal with grief. The summer of grief really made the saddest mixed CD in the world. And it's about me and two friends of mine, a professional dominatrix and a self-professed slut. You know, we met at, you know, and it's about hanging out in munches, and a lot of kinky shenanigans ensue, so to speak. But it's about getting over grief, and it's about getting help. And it's a perfect example of finding connection and some kind of peace in the kink community through friendship. That's what I wanted to capture on that. There's all this gooning and these romance books. After what's funny about this, this is, if you don't mind, I want to like talk about this. So I wrote The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself, right? And it's a love story. It's not a romance novel, but it's a love story. My publishing company made it a romance novel. So I did all these PR tours with these 50 Shades of Grey wannabe, these indie 50 Shades of Grey wannabe that are horrible, that are not in the kink community at all. Like, at all. It's almost like offensive. It's like I'm reading this, I'm like, what is this? And I'm sure there's some people who read my book, you know, they're like, what is this? But it's real what I went through, right? Whereas this stuff is like, you know, it's almost unsafe. Like 50 Shades of Grey is in certain ways, right? So I needed something to represent the kink community. So that's Your Kinky Friends was something that was different from the typical erotic novels, because there's erotic scenes in there, but it's not like just fat material. I know doms across the world who make their subs read it, or they read it to them or stuff like that. There's Nico Noir. Shout out to Nico Noir. Oh, Nico Noir. Yeah, there's that. So I don't know. So check out my books. The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself, Your Kinky Friends. I have another book called Chip Black Nail Polish, which is about me being a kid, basically. Also, we have a show. We have a live show. Your Kinky Friends on Nicholas Tanek on YouTube. If you go to yourkinkyfriends.com, you can see it, but there's a YouTube channel. If you subscribe to it, you can see the show live, and you can comment and all that stuff. I take them down, and I put them on Spotify. I can do whatever I want. It's my show.
I honestly appreciate everything, Nick. I mean, coming on, sharing your experience, sharing your thoughts.
You're doing something.
Yeah.
Hey, you're doing something. You're making it happen. You're doing something. There are people out there who, you know, who wish they were doing something, and then they can't, or they won't.
I think everybody can do something. They just got to put effort into it. But that's a whole nother topic. But nonetheless, let's
It's beautiful. I recognize you. I see you. I recognize you.
I appreciate that.
And I'm here for you.
I appreciate that. So, just in wrapping up, once again, like I said, I do appreciate your time. So, yeah, I don't know. A lot of thoughts. I got some things to suss out. You definitely helped spur some thoughts and encourage some thoughts. Appreciate that.
Well, I like to think
other than that,
to be amused. I've been around so many people in my life, you know, especially the people I interviewed. There are certain people out there who I want to give to. Nico Noir, you know, Your Kinky Friends, my co-host on Sundays. Every Sunday we have a show, Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just two friends every week. We just see what's up. Then we have guests come online who just come in. They pop in to say hi. We had Amy Mercury, fully dressed like Mojo Jojo. It is Mojo Jojo from Powderpuff Girls. She was just on the show with that. We talked about, you know, doms getting scammed.
Well, I went ahead and I did include your website in the chat here, and it is in the show notes. So I imagine, you know, some people will be hopefully reaching out, possibly listening to your show and so on and so forth. But with that said, I do want to get this episode wrapped up.
Okay.
I'm conscious on time. Yeah. So I do appreciate your time. And I just want to say I appreciate everybody sharing their space and time with us. We'll see you next time. See
Be
ya.
cool, be kind, keep an open mind.